talking different
We
now.
had another talk last night. Yeah.
Like, and is she coming to
Now
you
it
angry
sounds
or
different.
like
There we
compassionate?
go.
Yesterday,
Yeah. I
can't tell
no,
the difference.
compassionately. Like she really means well.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
Is that better now?
Much better. I can hear you.
Now I can hear myself. Before it sounded kind of weird.
If
I
only
thought,
your
you know
voice
what?
matched those eyes, you might have a chance, bro. Man, wow. Okay, so
better.
we've got quite a bit that we can talk about. And before we start the show, we just chop it up of what's off limits for you. If there's nothing, fantastic, because that's what this show is all about. Transparency, being real. You've seen it. You've heard it. At the end of the day, you can curse if you need to. Just use it the right way. That's all I say. I've got a couple of topics here. I've got the growth in San Antonio, running a brokerage, investment opportunities. I wanted to go over some statistics here to kind of kick off the show after I introduce you guys. And welcome back to another episode of Key Factors Podcast, Real Estate AF, where the AF stands for And Financing. And I'm your host, Mark Jones, and we are powered by ReviewMyMortgage.com, the largest index of mortgage programs in the nation. Guys, I'm happy to announce that we have surpassed the 15,000 subscribers on YouTube alone and just knocking on the doorstep of 16,000. So continue to share, recommend this to other real estate professionals. So today I brought along a really nice treat for you all, and this group kind of came from or sprung from a what do we call it? Motivational yet act right from Tom Ferry recently. But without further ado, I want to introduce my guests. To my right, I've got Gilly Mendoza. Gilly, how you doing?
Let's go.
Yeah. And then I've got Ronnie Trevino. How you doing?
What's going on?
Good deal. And then we've got Jeff Garza, the Jeff Garza.
Howdy, howdy.
Absolutely. So, guys, there's plenty that we have on the chopping block today. But before we get into that, I always like to give our guests a little bit of time to just tell us who you are. What I'd like to do is just start down there at the end. Jeff, kick it off.
Yep, I'll keep it simple. Jeff Garza, born and raised here in San Antonio, the broker owner of Redbird Realty. We're headquartered here in San Antonio. Today I sponsor about 175 agents. We have an office in Central Texas here and now soon to be in the Valley. And we've been doing real estate for a minute now. And I've been doing real estate long enough that I didn't have this white beard. So just in case anybody wants to become a broker.
You mean
Yeah.
you're not dyeing that to look George Clooney?
Yeah, no George Clooney here. This is all natural. Yeah, for sure.
We got to be careful with George Clooney
Yeah,
these days,
that's
too.
right. Yeah.
So, Ronnie, what's up, man?
What's going on, guys? My name's Ronnie Trevino. I'm the broker owner of Resi Realty. I've been in the real estate industry for 17 years now, and I'm just a border town boy from Del Rio, Texas. I was born in Cali, raised in Del Rio, Texas, moved to San Antonio in 2007, got my real estate license. Didn't think that, real estate was really that hard to do. Back then, I wasn't watching the news.
Sure.
So, I didn't know what I was getting into. But here I am 17 years later, and it's been quite a ride.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Gilly, you're up, brother.
Gilly Mendoza. Been in the real estate business for 12 years now. I'm all in the business with my wife. We've got a small real estate team, and our specialty, my focus is real estate investing, which I'm very passionate about. I knew that this was an industry I wanted to get into. I didn't know if I would enjoy it and love it as much as I do, but thank God I'm here. I'm in the business, and I literally can't see myself doing anything else outside of real estate. Maybe at some point venture and dabble into different businesses, but I think real estate will be where I end up.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And many would say that if you do it right, you can build yourself a recession-proof business. And I think that right now we're going through a bit of a struggle as a whole in real estate regarding what the mindset of others in real estate believe our business is doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully with these great minds in the room, we'll be able to chop some of this stuff up, dissect it, unpack it, and give folks some understanding of the mindset of top producers, brokers that are leading the way in what we do. That being the case, I've got a couple of topics here, and one that rings home that I'd like to kick it off with, and it has to do with work-life balance. We were at the Tom Ferry event recently, and he made mention to this, And I agreed with it, have preached it for a while, but I want to get you guys' take on it. How is it, matter of fact, I'll start with you, Ronnie. How is it that you're able to continue to produce, continue to guide your team, grow your business, shift to the ever so changing market, and keep balance? Is that something that is even real?
That's a great question. And like we were mentioning a little while ago, Jeff and I were talking about that last week. And
You can move the mic wherever you feel comfortable.
yeah, sure. This is good. I think a lot of times whenever we get into this business, we're not really thinking work-life balance. We're very driven, and we're just going out there and we're putting all the hours that are required in order for us to be successful. But at some point, we get to a point in our business where, you know, like in my case, for example, my kids started growing up, and I'm like, okay, crap, my kids are growing up. I need to start spending more time at home. How do I make that happen? And so for me, it was being patient with achieving that work-life balance. So it wasn't something that I could just, you know, think of and then it happened overnight. It was something that I wanted to achieve, and it's been a work in progress, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I'm still trying to achieve it. And have I gotten better over the years? Absolutely. And what are the things that I've been doing? One of them, I think the most important thing has been really focusing on the people that are in my life. So if I can leverage things in that I'm not really that good at with people that are in my life that can benefit me and benefit my business, and in return I'm benefiting them
Right.
in forms of compensation or in forms of giving them a bonus for doing what they're doing,
Sure.
then I think it's a great exchange. It's a win-win. So
I love that you mentioned that, the value exchange, and it's not necessarily always monetary either.
absolutely. And then another thing that I've learned over the years is to incorporate my family in work. So whenever I'm doing, like we're having a big Christmas event next week. Well, it's an event for my clients, but you think I'm not going to have my family there? I'm absolutely going to have my kids there, helping out, passing out treats, having a good time, you know, making people laugh, whatever they're doing, right? Just being kids. But I think it's important to involve the family in the business. And then is that the ideal work-life balance? Maybe not, but it makes things better, right? There's still memories that you're creating with your family.
And you mentioned ideal. And I think that is, I mean, in itself is, and I hate to say this because the damn, what is it? Generation Z uses it all the time, but it's almost subjective to the person. What is your ideal? Well, what is your goal? What are you trying to get to? How difficult and how much time is whatever it is that you're going for going to take away? And one thing that you just mentioned that I've noticed about all of us here in this room is our families are involved in what we do. Matter of fact, I had a difficult time with work-life balance. So I said, babe, get in the business. Opened up insurance company. Now she's doing real estate. Now we're going forth together. Similar to you, Gilly, if you want to take this away, what is your thoughts on this work-life balance thing that we're constantly trying to chase?
Yep. So I never really understood it. And as I've studied, I feel like very successful, and what I would define as successful, right? Because everybody has their own definition of what success is and what that means to them. But where I find successful is it's looking at people that have been in the real estate space, specifically in the development space, and that have created what we would call generational wealth, and truly indestructible generational wealth. And by that, I mean like where recession can't tear down this generational wealth, right? Like losing 2, 3, 50 tenants in properties that you own or doors that you own. And for me, what a number count that I would like to get to is 2,500 doors, right? At some point in my lifetime, and I don't think it's going to happen alone. This will happen with my family as my kids get incorporated into the business. If they do, I think this will happen over time. But to be the first generation to create that wealth, there's going to be some massive sacrifices. And so knowing that I have to do that and have to put these long hours in, and that's just because I'm the first one to come into the business, and I'm going to pave the way for my kids, my grandkids, and for those to follow after. Hopefully they keep the business going. On the development side, there's going to be some extreme sacrifices, some long hours. So what we have done, or what I have done, is had these conversations with my kids, my wife. And fortunately, my wife she came or comes from a family of entrepreneurs, so she knows the sacrifices. So for me having to explain to her, have these conversations with her, she knows it. So I've always had her support, which has been extremely helpful. But it's having it with my kids and saying, okay, Nayeli, especially Nayeli, because Nayeli's the oldest, she's 16. Dad's gonna have to work very long hours, right? Like I just hope you understand this. And the reason I would have to have this is I started this when she was 4 years old. Is I would ask her, hey, what can dad do to be a better dad? And what came up, now one time, but a few times, and this has come up with now Malachi, who's 10 years old, is, Dad, I wish you didn't work as much. I wish you were home more. I wish you were around the way you used to be. And so knowing that, hey, if I'm trying to really create this and build this and go after it, I'm going to have to create those sacrifices.
Absolutely.
Right. And I'm going to have conversations with them. So having those conversations and saying, hey, Nayeli, like, give me 3 months. Dad's going to be working probably every day in long hours. Give me 3 months. And let's just say by May time, Dad'll have some time freed up where I won't be there as much. But I just need you to understand that that's going to happen for these next 3 months. So that has been super helpful with the kids. But that's my thoughts. And I look at it even a step further, that as I'm a grandparent, that'll be hopefully my time, right? I put in that time. I did those sacrifices where I'm going to have that freedom to say, okay, hey, we're all going to go on this vacation. Grandma and grandpa are going to pay for it, right? I'm going to be able to spend time with my grandparents, and maybe my daughter and my sons are the one putting in these long hours now,
right.
because they're trying to create what they want to create. So
No, that's pretty impactful, and I think it's important for people to hear that you're actually practicing what you're preaching to your kids, and they're able to see the path and how to get there. Because there's a lot of folks out there, I'll be honest, I didn't have very many role models growing up to go, okay, my dad's away at work. Instead, my dad was coaching and doing all the things, so we were always around him, but we didn't have all the vacations. We didn't have all of those things that I saw all of my wealthy counterparts at the time being able to do. So knowing the sacrifice now, super important that you're getting them involved. Jeff,
Mark,
go for it. Go for it.
I
No,
just
please.
want to add too, because I do think being present is very important, right? Like I hear this a lot from our pastor specifically is I'm not a perfect father, but I'm a present father, right? And that's something that I've always prided myself on. Like, you know, the long hours, yes, that's definitely going to be there, but I will say I'm very intentional about never missing my kids' games or anything that's school related that's very important. Right?
And luckily, we're in an industry where you can, if you prioritize properly, get your shit done. You can adhere to those promises.
Correct.
My wife, shout out Kristen Jones. She's got a tattoo right here that says, "Wherever you are, be all there." Wherever you are, and whatever the case may be. I'm in this podcast. I love doing these because it's an hour to 2 hours, no phones, no distractions, having intellectual conversations that are meaningful, that others can hopefully take and apply to their lives. Yeah. Jeff, we're on to you, brother. What do you think about this work-life balance thing? I think with your situation, you've got yourself, you've got your wife who's also in the industry, and then you've got 175 plus mouths that are dependent upon your leadership.
Yeah.
What's that like,
Well,
man?
I mean, to add to that, plus staff, plus business partners, and plus industry affiliates that also lean on me to be able to produce something for them, for us to be in fruitful relationships, right? So there's a lot to this. I mean, this podcast could really be about this one thing, to be quite honest. But so I'll give you a couple of different versions of it. The first one would be, when I got into real estate, I looked at what the world was telling me based on metrics and studies, that my percentage chance of failure or success might or might not be. And then I took that information and looked at what Jeff was going to say Jeff's percentage chance of failure or success was going to be. And so we've talked about this numerous times, and agents who are listening to this need to know these stats. The National Association of Realtors says that a brand new agent will be out of the business with an 80% chance, likelihood, before year 3. Okay. And so it's a turnstile. A lot of people can get in, and a lot of people get out, right? And that's just what it is. And so When I got in, it was about 85%. It just continues to get higher. And so when I did the research early on, when I was getting my license, to be quite honest, I was scared shitless because I was going to be jumping into the deep end of the pool, trying to replace a salaried job where I was vested, retirement system, benefits and all that other jazz, to go into something where it was like, you eat what you kill. And if you can't kill really worth a damn, you're going to starve, right? And your wife and your kids and everybody else you're leveraging all of that, right?
Right.
And so I just went after it, right? And so I remember the conversation that I had at that time with my family. This would have been, I don't know, 11 years, give or take, right? And I would have had a conversation with my then 2 very young teenagers, adolescent children, Seth and Megan, and then Dylan at the time would have been, he would have been, whatever, I don't even know, but he was young, right? And so at that time, I knew that I had to give up something to get something in return, right? And that's what most people are not willing to do. They want to look at fake book. They want to look at, Redbird. They want to look at Resi. They want to look at Real and Gilly. They want to look at, Gilly International and all the things he's doing and what these, like what we're doing. But they don't ever want to know, like, really, how did chapter 1 start?
That's
Truth
right.
be told, right? I've never had anyone say, hey, Jeff, I want to buy you coffee and I'd like for you to teach me how you started, right? How I started was I sacrificed time because time was my only asset.
Right.
Right. And so, yes, was there a year where I was not going to my daughter's cheer events? Yes. But that was an agreement that we made together as a family.
Right.
Do I regret it? No, because I'm here today and I can be a much better father and grandfather to her daughter today than I could have been had I not done this investment or investing in ourselves, like you said, and building the generational, like trying to be the forefather of something, right? Important. I remember my boys, right? At that time, I actually owned a select baseball organization.
Okay.
I had about 6 teams where I had the paid trainers, the paid coaches.
What year was this?
This would have been...
Were you playing at Baseball USA?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we were Baseball
yeah.
USA back then. Yeah, and we were doing a bunch in Round Rock and stuff, So, yeah. I mean, we would have been doing a bunch. And I was
probably playing on the field at that time.
Yeah, I would have... I would have had... I mean, I think we had about 5, select teams, summer high school teams, and then youth, fall, and spring teams. Had that organization for many years. And I remember when I decided.
Yeah.
And I basically, our head trainer, our head coach, if you will, I was like, hey, like, I'm going to sell you the organization and I'm not really asking for $1. I'm basically giving it to you.
Sure.
And he was like, what do you mean? And I'm like, I'm not going to be on a baseball field for another year. And I need you to handle this and take care of it. And so I just washed my hands of it, right?
Yeah.
Because I knew that I had to be all in real estate, right? And again, that's my story, right? And so I was so adamant in not failing that I gave myself off in my first year of real estate the first Monday of every month. And that was it. Because I told myself I would be earning or learning every single freaking day. And I was going to be at apartment complexes. I was going to be at builder communities. I was going to be meeting with investors. I was going to be at lunch and learns. I was going to be at my broker's office. I was going to be tucked away in a room at my house just YouTubing for 6 hours. Like, that's the shit most agents won't do, if we're being honest.
Absolutely.
And I wasn't trying to like listen to all of that to figure out how to mimic and replicate. I was trying to figure out like, what was my style? What could I draw from him? What could I draw from her? And how could I adapt it, right? Now, fast forward, a decade plus later, now having the organization, which is the brokerage Redbird Realty, like, man, this guy and I have become very close because we share a common bond, which is he's growing his independent brand as well, right? And I told him, I don't know, Ronnie, you can probably jump in, but I would have told him a year ago, like, be ready to work harder than you have ever worked. Be ready to give up more hours than you have ever given up. And be ready to be able to look at your family and know deep in your heart why you're doing it. Because you got to be able to have the stones to be able to say, hey, you know what, lovely family, like, I cannot be there with y'all this weekend.
That's right.
Because duty calls and because I'm building for something bigger for the masses, for all of us. So that way we can leverage this one day and have a piece of a pie, right? We all talk about, well, I want the piece of the pie. I want the piece of the pie. Like, and Thanksgiving's right around the corner or whatever. But like, you got to build your piece of the pie. It's just not given to you, man. Like, and so that's a general concept.
No,
but I don't
great.
think there's balance. If you want to get back to the balance, I think there's controlling controlling the imbalance. I think there's being in control of the chaos. And I think that's probably, I'm curious to see what y'all would say, but I seek to have control of the chaos.
Yeah.
You know, to where I'm not a firefighter and all of your fires are my fires. No. We're going to time block. We're going to calendar. There's times meetings for this. There's meetings for that. But there's just a shit ton of meetings throughout the day.
Right.
I mean,
and I think the most important thing that was said there's plenty, but the idea of you controlling your own fate, because technically you are self-employed. Any realtor listening to this,
1000%.
there are very few in the industry. Matter of fact, I'd go as far as to say that most that are not technically self-employed and getting a W-2 as a realtor working for some type of online organization, they're not going to tune into this.
everyone else is eat what you kill.
Yeah.
That's exactly
That's
right.
true.
So you've got to build what you're doing. And in order to build that, throw balance out the window. It's just not a thing. And you're going to have naysayers or just sayers that say, hey, what about your work-life balance? Well, no, I've got priorities that I've got to hit. And I've got to do these tasks no matter what in order to hit that, so that one day I can have that balance.
And you know what, Mark? I have to say this, and I'm curious to see what y'all think. I know that there might be like coaches or trainers listening to this that are going to say, oh, they're full of shit. They don't know, because there is balance. But those coaches are going to be the same ones that say what you focus on grows.
Weird.
So
Weird.
you kind of
right
have to give extreme focus
Absolutely.
to where you want your extreme growth. And then you have to figure it out. And going back to what Gilly was saying, thank God, like everybody here at this table, you know, that I actually know all of y'all's families, you know, individually, but like we all have people who are supporting us and who are in a corner, which makes it that much easier or better for us to be able to go do the crazy things that we want to do and we set out to do, you know? And I know your biggest fan is at home. I know your biggest fan is at home. I know yours is, and I know mine is. And for anyone, again, listening to this, like, is your biggest fan the person you lay your head next to? And I'm not trying to be an asshole, but geez, like that's a life audit. Are you equally yoked? Are you with the person who is making it okay for Gilly to dream?
And that,
You know,
that is literally what I was
you
going
know?
to say there is, what is maybe some advice you would give? Because I'm sure, almost certain, there are plenty of realtors, brokers out there that don't have that support, that have someone nagging, saying, hey, you need to be home for this. You need to be home for that. Why are you constantly at the office? Why are you constantly running the streets, etc.? For me, my advice to that person is handle your business and make sure that shit's worth it.
That's right.
If that makes sense.
That's right.
Yeah. You know, for me, I remember when Sophia and I met, and prior to even thinking about real estate, I was in a total different industry. I worked in a maquiladora in Mexico, and I worked in the manufacturing industry. And I saw that, you know, that was my vision. But I remember telling Sophia, and shout out to Sophia, because she's my biggest supporter, and she's the reason why I'm sitting here today, honestly. I remember selling her my vision, right? I didn't want to work for anyone anymore. I wanted to operate my own business. I had this grandeur vision of one day being able to control my own destiny and support my family in a way that they've never dreamed of, right? Something that I never had growing up. Not that I lacked anything, because I had a good life.
Right.
And but one thing that stood out to me, for, you know, talking about all of this stuff, is whenever Sophia was encouraging me to go out and do what I wanted to do, I had to sell her my vision. So I had to sell it to her, and she was convinced with what I told her, and she supported that vision no matter what. So it was okay whenever the long hours were there, because I sold her on that vision to begin with.
She had already bought into what was in your
Absolutely.
mind. Right.
Absolutely.
Well,
So
even
I think
more so before then, she had bought into you.
Yeah.
And believed in you and your capabilities. And even if you weren't capable or able to yet, she believed at a certain point in time, I'm going to bet on that dude. And you know what? I'm riding it till the wheels fall off.
And it scared the shit out of me.
Absolutely.
It
And it
scared the
should.
shit out of me.
I think it
that
should.
she said, you know what? Okay, I'll accept that challenge.
Yeah.
And then, well, I better be the man that I said I was going to be.
That's right.
And do what I said what I was going to do.
Matter of fact, that brings up another kind of, for those out there that don't have anybody that you are accountable to, find one, because it should scare the piss out of you that you have to get this done, whether it is for the sake of your family or the sake of letting someone other than yourself down. I see no problem with that. In my opinion, there's a lot of folks out there when you ask them, hey, what are you doing this for? Oh, the money. What are you doing this for? I want to leave a legacy. What are you doing this for? There are some people that say, I'm trying to prove some people wrong. And I'm totally fine with that. Matter of fact, I got into this business and did as much as I did in production in the first several years because I was trying to prove somebody wrong. I wasn't trying to prove myself right. I believed I could, or I wouldn't have gotten into it. I was trying to prove somebody wrong. And thus far, now that person is a fan, you know? It's just kind of awesome. Fast forward. Yeah. But there was another thing that you mentioned. You were making a good living. You were fine. I'm sure we all were before we got into this business. But there's one thing that stands out about every guest that I've had on this show and been able to share conversation with is we all wanted more. And I'm safe to say we still want more.
Absolutely. Without a doubt. You know, I'll say, you know, so I consider these gentlemen to be really good friends of mine today. Confidants, like I'll share some stuff with them, like very privately, you know, because I can trust that it's falling on safe ears and on a safe heart. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And so we lovingly call Ronnie Trevino the blue-eyed devil of real estate.
Hey.
Okay. But where I was going with this, is that we call Gilly in some circles an animal. Okay. But we actually call him
Full throttle.
That's right. But we actually call him the brain of real estate. Okay. Because this guy, like, so when you're talking about like we want more,
right?
You know, like, and I know he's been on a show before, or others, right? Like, you know, when you
Gilly was actually my very, very, very first podcast guest.
Really? How about
very
that?
first?
Okay.
Very honored.
Let's go. Let's
Man,
go.
no wonder he's like in his element.
Yeah.
He's all cool and calm.
Wow,
He's
that's
just,
a small
I'm
little
a co-host.
tidbit. Yeah, I love
damn
that.
right.
Yeah.
We had
He like,
cell
owns
phones.
this place.
Yeah,
But
we
you
had
know, but yeah, that's so when we talk about like we want more, we want bigger. Like, man, I would buy Gilly any meal on any day,
Yeah.
just to hear what his version of bigger means. Because when he tells his version today, because he'll tell you, like I always tell people, you got to be able to cast a vision, and you've got to be able to see your dream before it ever becomes reality, right?
Yeah.
And so like I'm like, hey, let's go have dinner tonight because I want you to cast your vision. Like I want to hear it, right? Because for someone like me, it's exciting to see someone like him, and I'm just like, oh my God, like I thought I had huge dreams, right? And I'm sure they probably feel the same way we all feel the same way, but to be able to be in a circle or to be able to be in a sorority or fraternity of other folks that are like you, that used to be laughed at, that used to be questioned, that used to be poked and prodded, maybe still do, right? To know that like, yeah, we just keep doing what we're doing, and it doesn't make us better. Like that's something that's super important. It doesn't make us better.
Right.
There could be an agent listening to be like, you know what? I just want to sell like 7 deals a year. Like that's all I want to do. Well, then crush your goal.
That's
like,
right.
Let's go. Like let's get it done. Like what can any of us do to help you crush that goal?
Absolutely.
Right. But like if I was to sit here and say, hey, like I want 1,000 agents in Texas. Like I want that same person to say, man, Jeff, I hope you crush your goal. You get what I'm saying?
100%.
Because it's not the one who has the biggest goal that's always going to be, you know, the ceiling or the barometer of who's crushing a goal. Like,
that's right.
No, my goal is my goal, and I want to crush it, and I want to be around people who want to see me crush it. And it kind of goes back to what Ronnie was saying, like, you know, my wife, and I think we're gonna have to do this because he already set the bar high. Okay, so shout out to my lovely, beautiful wife, Carissa Garza. Okay, so she has taught me a ton of things, right? So she came from a very high level executive type realm in the corporate world here in San Antonio, in Texas, right?
Where there is no coloring outside the lines.
There is none. Yeah. There is none. You know, like there is the job, there is the performance, and you're either doing it or you're not. And those that can toe the line are compensated very well, routinely, monthly, weekly, bi-monthly, whatever it is, you know, with benefits and all that other stuff. And you know your trajectory. You know when your next raise might be. You know when that next opportunity to advance your title might be, right? And those are people that are probably going to do those types of things things for 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years, right?
Absolutely.
And that's a plan, right? And that's a very loyal employee, and that's a really, really good person, right? But like you said, a couple years ago, she came into to this side of the tracks, right? And so, she's on the mortgage side, right? And so, and she came in during the most historically worst time to ever do what she did.
That's right.
And so, we laugh about it slightly today, right?
No,
And we're
I
like,
feel
oh my
her
God.
pain. I feel her pain 100%.
But one of the best compliments she's ever paid me was about a year ago. And it wasn't meant to be a compliment. We were in the kitchen. I don't know. We were doing something. And she was just like, how have you been able to do what you've done in real estate for so long? And she's a really intelligent woman.
Absolutely,
She's
yeah.
super intelligent. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, where are you going with that question? Like, are you joking? Are you like kind of like razzing me? Like,
Poking me? Yeah.
Are you? What do you mean? You never really say something like that, right? Because I'm always trying to prove something to my wife. I'm always trying to prove something to my children.
You were waiting for the ... Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so she was just like, I have come to realize that real estate is very hard to master.
Yeah.
Because of all the people, all the emotions, all the just all the stuff. It's junk, right? Like people's emotions and lives are filtered in on top of buying and selling in a traditional format, right?
Well, it's because he's selling the sexy. You and I, as lenders, we don't sell the sexy.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, she was just like, you know what, Jeff, like I have a lot of respect, newfound respect for you.
Sure. Yes.
Which was, I guess, is what I'm getting at. She was
Absolutely.
like newfound. And I'm like, babe, like, you really? And she's like, I totally understand now why so many people do like you and why there's a camp of people who absolutely hate you. And I'm like, why? And she was like, because they're not willing to work the way you do.
That's right.
And now I know what I got to do on my side to get where I want it, because she has her own set of dreams, right?
Absolutely.
And so they're very independent, but if we can get them done the way we want them to be, then they can be very linear, and they all can be all flourishing, kind of like what you were talking about, right? So like going back to Gilly, like maybe his children go into lending space and insurance space and home warranty space and title space and land development space. Like, I mean, are you going to tell them that there's only one direction?
No, not at all.
You know?
So if you remember Nayeli on with the cooking and all
Absolutely,
that stuff,
yeah.
she was all passionate about it, right? And so she even said this on national TV when she got eliminated from the show, that I'm going to have bakeries all over the world, right? And so last year, her sophomore year in high school, she had a thesis paper report to do on what do you want to be when you grow up and after you graduate, right? So she says, I want to get into real estate. So I was totally shocked, because prior to that, she wanted nothing to do with real estate,
Sure.
right? And so she asked us some questions. She interviewed some people. She did all this research on it. And now she's going to do real estate. Malachi said, Malachi's 10 years old. He wanted nothing to do with real estate. Initially, he's like, I want to go to the military. I want to, and very grateful for that too. I mean, we would be totally happy if he does that, or he says, I want to play professional football, but nothing to do with real estate. This year, he has told us he wants to be a home builder. So I think just the kids growing up around it, this environment, they don't do what you say, they do as you do.
That's
right?
so true.
I can
Amen.
push them on that. I can put, and there's the statistics, which we've talked about this, is kids' eating habits, their health habits, and their financial literacy. All of that is established by the age of 7 years old. And those studies go as far as, okay, kids will do what they learned up until the age of 7, right? Like the eating, okay? And as they get older, maybe they get in sports, they get in college, and they're trying to stay fit, and they're trying to look good, they're single. But naturally, as they get older, they revert back to what they did up until the age of 7.
Makes perfect sense.
So, and I think that the same for this.
So that was some good shit right there with this little transition. I wanted to mention something that you were talking about a moment ago, and I don't know if you guys received this message, but shout out JJ Arena, how are you doing? But
JJ.
I got a pretty long goal-oriented text message.
I did
you
too.
get that?
Yes,
I did too.
I did.
I don't know about you guys, but I was fired up like nobody's fucking business.
I loved it right away.
I mean, immediately, and in the end, it was his goals, and they are lofty, but they are not tomorrow goals. They are long term. This is how I get there. This is what I need to do, et cetera, et cetera. And he ends with, "You're my bro and I need your help. If you see me stray from this, I'm giving you the authority to call me out on it." And that was so impactful to me, waking up, seeing that text message. I mean, you think that you're already motivated to get whatever goals you have accomplished until you have somebody that shares their shit with you, and it puts it in
Absolutely.
perspective.
Oh,
You,
man.
you just opened up something in my mind as you were saying
Go
that,
for
because
it.
I did receive that text, and,
Yeah.
and I considered JJ to be a great
Absolutely.
trainer,
didn't
coach,
receive that
mentor,
text.
professional.
What are y'all talking about?
I'll forward it to
Yeah,
you.
yeah, it's solid. It's solid. You'll love it. You'll
I
love
was
it.
left out.
JJ, you better send that text. I'll send you his number right now. So, but yeah, so obviously he's got a circle of people, right?
Absolutely.
That he's gonna give permission to hold them accountable,
Yeah.
right? And there's two things I'm gonna touch on. The first one would be, thank God, everyone at this table, and like someone like JJ as an example, great example, is willing to put away and put aside any sort of pride, because prideful people would never share that their what their vision is, or their dream,
Absolutely.
or what they're casting, right, into the world, right? They would never share it. They would hide it. They would hold on to it, right? And then they would also not want it to be okay for it to be critiqued or for it to be held accountable,
Absolutely.
And so, like, I mean, I've done a lot of cool things, and whatever, like we said, like whatever success is, right? I've been successful in certain things, right? Not even close to where I want to be. Like, if you ask me today, like, I'm failing, like
Right.
that's just my style,
Same.
right?
And,
Go
and
ahead.
you were famous.
Well,
He was at the Tejano Star. I don't know if you're aware of that.
Oh, there we
He
go.
was in the
Yeah.
Tejano band.
Yeah.
You can Google
Yeah.
him and you'll find
We will
YouTube
put our
videos of the
Spotify
accordion.
song on the
Accordion,
link
the
to
whole-
this. Yeah, I
that's
played
awesome.
button accordion, used to travel, record, was a
Yes.
recording artist, all that other stuff. So that'll be another podcast. But right now, people like that and like us, and people listening, because we're not the only ones. Like, people listening are like, man, I kind of resonate with that guy. Like, I have big dreams, I have big goals, which you should. Like, hopefully you do.
Absolutely.
Like, who is your circle, right? So go kind of the secondary thing that I wanted to mention, as you were mentioning JJ's text to you, is that I was trying to relate that to new agents, right?
Sure.
And struggling agents, because I want to make sure that people listening can correlate this to their today, right? If you're a new agent or a struggling agent, stop hanging out with other struggling agents.
Very good point.
Stop going to lunch with other struggling professionals.
Matter of fact, stop going to lunch.
Stop doing
got shit to do.
anything with
Absolutely.
people who are as broke or broker, and go to lunch with people who will get the tab
Yeah.
and would love to pour into you.
That's right.
Because they have a proven track record. One of the things that I've seen in my lifetime in the career of real estate, and I've seen this over and over, I imagine y'all have too, is a lot of struggling agents stay in the same camp.
Yep.
Same happy hours. Same
And I'm just
all
like,
of the above.
you just have to ask someone different who's not in that camp.
Absolutely. And
I'm
and
so-
here's a mindset.
I'm
for
so
you.
glad that you mentioned that. It's super, super important. Prior to getting into real estate, I had some mentors. Some were good, some weren't that great. But if there's one word of advice that I can give agents, it's the circle.
Yeah.
Like when you put yourself in a circle where everyone has a mindset of success, instead of bitching and complaining
Right.
that the market sucks and that there's no business out there, or that their brokerage isn't supporting them
Right.
when they're never going to the office, you want to eliminate stuff like that. I can
Yeah.
immediately feel a shift in my energy whenever I have people like that around me.
Yep.
I got to push them out of the way.
100%.
They can't be around me.
And
I'll get.
Go for it.
Sorry, Mark. I want
No,
to get
you're
more
good.
granular on that. So, like, if you look at that statistic, right? So, in 3 years, 80% of them will be out. So, I used to say this to agents, right? You look around the room when giving this panel. You look around the room, and I would say 85% of them won't be here
That's
in
right.
2 years, right? So, be careful who you're listening to. And the other thing too is like what worked for this agent may not work for this agent.
That's right.
So like listening to the wrong person, right? I'm a big fan of open houses, and I built my business on phone duty and open houses.
Yeah.
I never did cold calling, but I never not cold calling.
Correct.
Right? Because I know that worked for a lot of people. But if you're talking to another agent who's new and be like, man, open houses suck, and I didn't get anything from an open house. I sat there, nobody walked in. Well, what was the process, right? Maybe it just was a bad neighborhood. Maybe you didn't pick the right house.
Maybe you didn't put in the legwork prior to let everybody know that there was going to be an open house. And I'm not
Correct.
talking
And
about
maybe-
sharing a social media post.
Maybe it was just an outlier, and come and talk to me after you've done 10.
Yes.
Because maybe you just did the shitty one first.
Absolutely.
Or maybe you thought you knew better than Gilly and Jeff, and I'm not going to listen to them. I'm not going to allow myself to be directed. I'll go out and do it my own
Amen.
way. That's what most people
But I know
do.
you're about to
Very
hit something
good
in
point.
gold right here.
Yeah, no. So I think for the agent is find out and go a step further and find out what your personality is. Right. You can do that through a disc. A test.
Yep.
You can figure out, okay, am I awesome at cold calling? Maybe you're great at cold calling, but you're not great at face-to-face and conversion that way, right?
Right.
So you probably don't want to be doing open houses because that's not where your strength is at.
Sure.
For me, it's getting in front of people. That works for me. For me, cold calling, I just don't thrive off of it.
Right.
But not to say it doesn't work. So for those agents listening, I think going deep with it, figuring out where you're most comfortable, and then if you do like open houses, find out which agents have succeeded with open houses and find out what worked for them. Maybe go shadow them.
No, that's a great point. And I want to bring it back just for briefly from the mindset aspect. I coach loan officers, my own and others, but I always hear I need to take these realtors to lunch, or I need to go and do this with this realtor, take them to lunch. And I would tell them straight up, guys, have you ever considered inviting them to your office to show them the value so that you can actually talk business to determine if you guys like each other or not, and if you're going to be able to work together, and if your goals potentially align and you can share value exchange versus going to lunch? Because I would sit down with realtors, and am doing so again now that I'm back doing production, and letting them know, hey, did you want to go to lunch? No, I don't want to go to lunch. What I want to do is talk about our goals, show you how the value works and the trade exchange of value. Because one day I'm not going to want to buy you lunch. I want us to fight over that damn tab because we've shared so much value. And at that point, that's when you can go, okay, now we're partners. We can go up to lunch. We can go have
love that
drinks, what
approach.
have you. But buying you coffee? What? I'm not about to buy you coffee. I don't even know you yet.
I got to say real quick, I think y'all all would absolutely agree to this. I tell my agents all the time, I want your partner lender to not have enough time to take your ass to
Boom.
lunch.
That's absolutely correct.
Because if I'm going to be sending my hard-earned clientele,
Yep.
that I've earned and scraped and clawed for through social media, ads, Facebook, open houses, door knocking, whatever the case may be, I want to send them to an expert in the field.
That's right.
I want to send them to someone who's like running and gunning on loans all day long.
Yeah, that's right.
And if you would get out of your own way and stop thinking everyone needs to kiss your real estate ass, the realtors out there, you would say, you know what? Let me go look at their operation. Let me
right.
go look at their office. Let me go visit them at their base camp, because I want to see their process. I want to see their environment. I want to see their assistants. I want to see whatever the case may be. Like, everyone has a different setup, right? But ultimately, like, there's so many who get a brand new license right now, and they're like, I'm just waiting for someone to slide into my DMs and offer to take me lunch. Well, the one that's offering to take you lunch doesn't have fucking business.
That's right.
And that's not who I want to send my deals to. So reverse your mind, reverse your thinking, and find people who are super busy and super in vogue and super wanted, and get in line and learn.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
There's a great book that's called Scaling Up, and it talks about scaling up in your business and scaling up in your life and scaling up with those partners in your business that could be increasing the level of business, right? So you always want to be looking at who's the one who's closing the most loans, who's the one who has the highest percentage of loans closed, or who's the one who's out there crushing it. And those are the people you want to be in business
That's
with.
right. And I promise you guys, as a lender that has done high volume, we find a way in our processes to make room for more, so that the customer themselves are never on the back burner. The real estate partner are never on the back burner, and you don't skip a bit. That was one of the toughest things. I think it was maybe my third year into the industry, and I was already crushing it. I would have real estate partners that would say, hey, you're too busy. Why? Because you see me on social media all the time marketing to get you more deals. That's what I'm doing. The fact of the matter is, I've got processes. We've got systems in place. Don't think that I'm too busy because I'm marketing. Don't think I'm too busy because if I don't answer my phone, then you'll know if I'm too busy.
And then the agents that change their partners, like let's say we're talking about lenders specifically, that change lenders every year like underwear, like you're part of the problem.
Yes, sir.
Like you clearly have no loyalty. You clearly have no concept of let's build a business jointly. Like let's build some flow here. Let's build some trust. Let's build some workflow. Let's build some experience together. I see so many agents, sadly, that once they have a real tough deal, and normally it's because the borrower has pimples and warts, right? It's they want to throw dirt and throw shit at the lender, and I'm like, did you even ask them why it went off the rails? Because I promise you, they weren't trying to not get paid either.
Good
I
point.
promise you, they were trying to feed their family.
Yes.
And but because a lot of agents are not taught properly that the lender can only do so much, and the lender relies 1,000% on user input or user error.
Yes.
And if you have a borrower who cannot upload a document, and for whatever reason, then you have a bottleneck.
That's right.
And it messes up your whole process, right? And there are a million people out here who couldn't attach a PDF to save their life.
And I'm sure you knew a bit about that, but now even more so.
Oh man, I
because
knew a ton about it
Of
before.
course, but now you're seeing
Now
it, hearing
it's
it.
like I tell people all the time. Like now, over the last 2.5 years, our pillow talk is Yellowstone and loans, right? And I'm embarrassed for realtors, like with the registered R. That's everyone probably listening.
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed for you, and I'm embarrassed for me, and I'm embarrassed for all the realtors on this table, because realtors act like jackasses with lenders who are working their asses off day in and day and night to try to get that deal to closing. And when something goes wrong, the realtor is quick to kick shade or kick dirt on that lender, and it's very sad. It's telling though, because then you got to deselect, because then you got to thin the herd.
That's right.
And then you got to be able to say, yeah, we probably weren't meant to be in business together.
That's right.
And it's okay. It's okay.
And that's where we come back to, you need to be very selective of who you're doing business with.
That's right.
The person who's not doing a lot of business, who has time to take you out to lunch, well, they may get to a point in the transaction where they don't feel confident to communicate with you. So then the deal goes to shit.
That's right.
Whereas you do a deal with Mark. I've never done a deal with you, Mark, but you do a ton of business. And I'm sure you've come across every scenario imaginable.
So there it used to be the 80-20 rule, to where 20% of your deals, God bless them, we're going to get them across, but we got to drag them. These days, I'll be honest, 80% of the deals are pretty tough in this market.
I agree.
We're
So
dragging 80% of our deals across that finish line.
And
Right.
because we're
So
Govy loan heavy
That's
over here
right.
too. So that's the
right.
other part.
So my point is, a lot of times, I think that agents, especially the ones that are new in the industry, they lack knowledge, so they lack confidence. So whenever the deal goes sour, they shit all over the whoever else, right?
That's right.
They point fingers at other people because their lack of knowledge and confidence didn't allow them to move the deal forward.
That's right.
So partner yourself with someone who's knowledgeable, who's confident, who can help you scale your business and help you get that deal across the finish line.
That's right.
And then in turn, you're going to become more knowledgeable, you're going to become more confident, and then you're going to become more successful, and you're going to
And real quick, for
achieve your
the young
goals.
agent that's listening to this, like it's not all doom and gloom. Like it's not all, cloudy with a chance of meatballs. Like just be different. Like interview your people. Interview 2 or 3 lenders instead of just being enamored because they sent you to Perry's. Like no, like have a conversation. Hey, how do you act in pressurized moments? How do you handle people who are losing their shit on the other end?
Right.
What kind of bedside manner do you have? Can you give me an example of when you've talked someone, off the ledge?
Yeah.
Tell me when it gets real shitty on your side, am I going to catch that wrath, or are you going to give me the high sign? Are you going to give me the wink and the gun? Like, how are we going to communicate when it gets a little rocky? And what will you permit me to do when it's rocky on my side, so I don't come and shit on you, but so I can have a real open line of communication, right? I think that's just relationship
That's very
101.
fair,
Like,
yeah.
just sit down with your people and just stop sending people business who you think you know how they act in business. Ask them. Let's talk about it before it gets rough. Let's talk about it. Let's forecast that we're going to have some rough deals.
Before we move on to this next topic, you brought up something pretty good. Here's a great question to ask your potential prospective lender. And ask them about the deal that they had to kill close to the finish line, because every lender has had it happen. If they tell you, no, we've approved every single deal I've ever done, they're full of shit.
Amen.
They're full of shit, because we've all experienced that. And hopefully you've only had to experience it once or twice. But I tell you, there is nothing like it. The feeling that you get as the lender that has made promises from start to now, and the deal has blown up, whether it was in your control or not. It hurts. It hurts not only your pocketbook. That's like the least of the worries at that point in time. Your ego, your reputation, you feel like it's all on the line right then and there. Ask them how they handled that situation. So as we transition into this next little topic here, JC, if you can throw this up on the screen, I want to go over some statistics, some factual data, and then I want to go into some of this stuff here. So as of November 2024, San Antonio real estate market has exhibited notable activity and trends. We're going to go over the sales. October sales surge. October 2024, home sales increased by 19% compared to the same month in previous years, totaling 2,895 closed listings. Active listings. The market had 14,525 active listings in October, which is a 16% rise from October of 2023. New listings, approximately 4,412 new homes were added to the market in October, marking a 14% year-over-year increase. Now let's go over pricing. And like I said, I'm just going to hit these stats real quick, and then I'm going to ask these guys a question. Pricing, average home price. The average home price as of October 2024 was $371,545. Mind you guys, this is all based on San Antonio. That's the market that we're in and we specialize in. Median home price. The median home price remains steady at $320,000 in July of 2024, indicating price stability. Market dynamics, inventory levels. The market had just over 5 months of inventory available in October, aligning with the balance of real estate market. Days on market, homes sold an average of 63 days in July of 2024, and I think that's as far as that kind of goes for ChatGPT's brain bandwidth. 9% increase compared to the previous year. Now, regional comparison, Bexar County, the average home price in Bexar County is $349,000. October of 2024, that is a 3.2% increase from the previous year. Texas statewide, the average is $421,922, and that is a 3.3% increase as well. Now, given all of those statistics, you can kill it. Given those statistics,
the human calculator was calculating as you were saying all of that. Just so you know. Just so you know.
That reminds me of The Hangover.
Gilly GPT.
He's playing blackjack and all the numbers are
He's already trademarked Gilly GPT.
I love it. I love it. So that being the case, you guys heard the stats. It's real shit. We're hearing a lot of grumbling in the market still. We're hearing... And oddly, you see we're creeping or knocking on the door of it flipping historically to a buyer's market. I, for one, think that even when we get to 6 months, this will be the first time almost in history that it still won't be a buyer's market. How are you all able to, and I'm going to ask you, Ronnie, how are you able to stay competitive, stay motivated, and stay in tune with the market and your realtors as a brokerage in today's market, given those statistics? I mean, you've got things that are just not making sense. You're saying that prices are still increasing, rates are still high, volume is decreasing, but yet October we had a solid month in real estate. Was it due to the election? What are you talking to your folks about?
So I think those statistics that you just talked about right now before beginning this segment, the only comment I have to say about that is God bless everyone here in this room for being in one of the most incredible industries in the whole nation, San Antonio, Texas.
Yes, sir.
Like, all those numbers to me are great. Like, that's fantastic. And that's what I've been telling everyone over and over and over again. It's not a shitty market. You guys have a shitty mindset.
Ooh.
There's business out there. You just got to go out there and get it.
Absolutely.
You got to know these numbers so you can understand how to talk to your client. It goes back to what I said. Like, go out, get knowledge on what these statistics are in our market in San Antonio compared to the rest of the nation, and that's going to give you a little bit more confidence when you go out there and speak to your client, and that confidence is going to enable them to make the decision that they need to make, because the people that aren't buying today are going to be kicking themselves in the ass in 2 or 3 years. I can guarantee that.
Totally.
But Ronnie, what about the home affordability issue?
Yeah, it's going to be a real problem in a few years, because prices are going to continue to jack up.
It's
Crazy.
true. Yes.
So
I mean,
we're sitting pretty, man.
Yeah.
And Gilly said it. I've heard him say it over and over and over again. Without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt, we're in a city that is just stated for so much future growth and development. Like, we've got decades of work left to do in San
Absolutely.
Antonio,
And
way beyond our lifetime.
before you hit this, I
Yep.
want to kind of mention something that Chris Jacobs said, and it really hit home, hopefully to a lot of people. It aired recently, but it wasn't the idea of we have a home affordability issue. We've got a mindset issue and an expectation issue with the buyers in today's market. And I was like, damn, I had never kind of put that together, but it's absolutely accurate in my opinion, given what we know now. You're qualified for X payment, so to speak. Find what you need to find within that payment. Instead of still thinking or believing that you're in a market to where you can buy a $300,000 home at a $1,900 payment.
Right.
You know, go for it.
I would say, like, following historic data, right, the historic information, there has always been an affordability issue. You go back the last 20, 30 years, there's always going to be that complaint. There's just, we need affordability, et cetera. I think the gap has gotten wider. If you look at Saha, I know their name is different now, but San Antonio Housing Authority, the vouchers that they have, the need, my understanding today is like 80,000 vouchers to meet today's needs, right? So,
Would you mind, because I'm sure there's a ton of folks out there that don't understand what you just said.
Yeah.
Can you break that little piece down?
So meaning, like, the San Antonio Housing Authority, the city, the government will come in and supply these vouchers to help offset what the tenant's rent is going to be. Let's just say the average rent for that zip code is $1,700. Based on what the tenant makes and what they qualify for, they can only afford $300, right? So the city is going to come in and give the voucher for $1,400 to that tenant for this 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and they're responsible for the additional
The
$300.
subsidy.
Almost
They're
subsidy.
subsidi- they're
There we go.
subsidizing.
They're subsidizing.
Correct. So there's, like, my
That's what I
understanding,
was
like,
looking
80
for.
Yeah, there you go.
Damn it,
He's
Gilly.
a man of great words.
Genius.
But on the data for San Antonio, like what Ronnie was just saying right now, San Antonio is still the most affordable of the big cities.
Yes.
So you've got San Antonio, you've got Austin, you've got Dallas, and you've got Houston.
Yep.
San Antonio is still very, very affordable. It's still ripe for growth. There's a whole bunch of undeveloped land here. And if you look at Texas in general, Texas's growth, like, Texas is exploding throughout the country. It's ripe for growth. The build-to-rent market, which is where these institutions, and I want to add this, when you hear institutions, what is called as smart money. You always want to follow smart money. Where are these institutions investing? They have been investing very, very heavily in Texas for the last 5 years. Specifically in San Antonio, when you looked at a year ago, the data was where build-to-rent was happening. Bexar County was the strongest market for build-to-rent communities. So, and what build-to-rent is there's these subdivisions that are going up 200, 300 homes at a time, and they're all rentals. These are all single-family homes. There's tons of them happening. Well, Bexar County was the number one county in the country where that was occurring. Okay, so that's what you want to follow as well. You look at Texas, of the top 15 states with growth, 7 of them were in the state of Texas, throughout the country. Okay. Not this last census report, the previous one before that, the 2 census reports showed the fastest growing city in the country was San Antonio.
Wow.
Right for growth. There's still massive opportunity. There's still a bunch of people institutions that are investing and pouring in here.
Now, those of you listening, Gilly just gave you something that you're probably not going to take the time to research and formulate this outlook on your own, to be honest. Just hands down, take that as the gospel. Matter of fact, he doesn't say it unless it's probably true. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Of course.
That being the case, I have a couple of questions that ChatGPT. I said, "Hey, give me some controversial questions."
Ooh.
And you mentioned one of them, so I'm going to lean into it. Institutional investors are buying a large portion of residential real estate. Some argue that this is driving prices up and making it harder for first-time home buyers. Do you think that should be regulated?
And I think this could be a section where the secret word comes out, but we won't tell.
As a capitalist, like I want to say no, right? When you look at the data,
He said secret word, not safe word.
yeah,
Secret word.
But
yeah.
when you look at the data of what institutions have in that rental space, it's 1%.
Exactly.
So it's very, very low, right?
Yep.
Like I think for us as realtors and again the 99% of single family rental owners in the country are mom and pop owners, just like all of us here, right? None of us are institutions. We figure out how to work with them instead of going against them. As realtors, and this here's a tip, and I've actually talked to one of the founders of the top 5 institutions. What they said is, Gilly, you need to figure out how to work with us. Here's our bind box, right? So the bind box meaning we don't want anything that's built prior to 1990. We want 3-bedroom, 1 bathroom minimum. This is our paint colors. It's agreeable gray. This is the vinyl flooring we use. So when they were buying very aggressively during COVID, and I wish you would have capitalized on this more, but when they were buying very aggressively, should you have gone and flipped those houses, you had an in buyer.
Yes.
And they're buying based on cap rate. So like when things were going nuts and paying over market value, institutions were doing that as long as it met their cap rate.
That's right.
Right. So you had an in buyer. So that's one way to figure out to work with them. If we have these communities, and like for us, we're preparing. This is coming from our coach. Shout out to Bobby Castro, who's involved in the space, knows the space pretty well. He is telling us survive through 2025. The fix is coming in 2026. Right. So all of what we're doing right now in the land development space is in preparation for what's to come in 2026. So the builders and on the institution level side, they have pulled back significantly. They are not buying anywhere near what they were buying before.
Absolutely.
Some of these groups were buying 2,000 homes per month throughout the country. Specifically in the country, it's like Florida through Texas is where they were buying, some in Arizona, but that was primary.
But all the while, like you said, mom and pops were doing the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
That knew better.
Correct.
Because I would tell you, during that time, most of the loans I did were all for investors.
Yep.
But
Mom and pops, if you want to capitalize, right? Like, and you're fearing them, like, figure out how to work with them.
That's right.
Right. You want to exit. You want to move your portfolio. Find the data. Find out when they're planning on getting aggressive, and it's basically when the cost of monay comes down.
Yes.
Right.
I love that. I love that you said that. I actually circled it and asterisked it. Figure it out.
Figure it out.
That's like the key right there.
Call them.
If there's anything that I can tell agents, like it's figure it out. The market's not bad.
Yep.
You just got to figure out how to pivot, figure out who to work with,
Yep.
and don't go against these institutions. Figure out how to work with them.
That's right.
And there's
That's
just not
fantastic.
institutions. It's also private family offices.
Sure.
So we're going, my partner and I, on December 10th or 12th. It's a private family office seminar, right? So these are people or
pool
mastermind
their money together.
that just not investors. They're private family offices, and these are people that might have $100-200 million that they need to preserve.
Sure.
A lot of that gets invested in real estate. There's going to be institution levels. There's going to be both. There's going to be people like myself, sponsors,
Wait. So you're telling me that these people are taking $200 million and they want to preserve it, and they're putting it in real estate?
They put it in real estate.
What does that tell us as even just a residential buyer?
Yep.
Pretty safe investment, huh?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, they want something that's tangible,
There you
right?
go.
Like that they can see, they can feel, they can touch.
Mm-hmm.
And what I have found is that these investors on that level are not looking for massive returns, right? We as small mom and pop investors cannot make the returns work the way they can make the returns work.
Sure.
Right? We're looking for bigger cash flow deals. They're not.
Right.
So if you have a portfolio or a package to sell to them and the numbers pencil out, they're buyers all day.
That's right, man. That's a great point,
Mark, I
Go for
don't
it.
mean to go left field here, but I feel like I have to for the
Please.
listener, because not everybody's going to delve into the world that
Correct.
Gilly plays in, which is perfectly fine, right? But for the listener who's like, man, this is cool, and the one who's like, that's not really cool, like, just understand that you can be the realtor in San Antonio who bitches about your board dues and the cost of name tags, or you can be the realtor who finds another table where the discussion is this high level. And it's a choice, right?
Absolutely.
Because I do believe that when agents fail, going back to like just kind of the simplicity of things, there's two different tables.
Yes, sir.
There's two different conversations going on at the same time.
Absolutely.
And so you just got to be aware of who you are sitting with, listening to, understanding, where their growth trajectories are and where
Yes.
they want to be. And there's a lot of people like a Gilly who would take a novice right now as an understudy to build what he's trying to build, as long as there's dual leverage. Does
let's
that make
com-
sense?
absolutely.
Am I
Let's
right, Gilly? Is that fair to
100%.
say?
Absolutely.
But a lot of people just don't want to ask questions because people listening be like, well, they don't teach that at my brokerage, or man, how did he learn that? He must have been at a great, like, no, he has chosen to go educate himself.
That's right.
And he just said he has a coach. He might even have two that I know of, to be
right.
quite honest. Like, at his level, he's still paying for people to feed him more knowledge.
That's right.
Like, that's kind of what I just want to make sure agents hear.
Well, let's
'cause,
compare it to
you know,
Thanksgiving. We've got Thanksgiving. Matter of fact, I think my goal is to air this sucker on Thanksgiving. So
damn.
happy Thanksgiving,
Okay.
everybody.
All right. Nice.
You've got the kiddie table that we all have.
Right.
Right. And every time you've got the kids that sit there and you get the adults. The idea is you are going to eventually grow up to the bigger table. It just takes time. But in this industry, it's not just a time thing. It's an experience thing. And getting into these rooms, having these conversations, open up the doors for you to inject anything that you've learned or gathered or picked up, and now see how it's applied in those other rooms. And I guarantee you saw it happen or heard it happen before you started doing it.
100%. But I want to piggyback off what Jeff was saying, right? And getting into the rooms, and also paying to get into the rooms.
Sure.
So how I met Bobby 6 years ago, and this was at a Grant Cardone mastermind.
Oh,
This is at
that
the
you
time-
paid for.
I paid
that
for.
you traveled to.
Yeah, I traveled
airfare,
to.
lodgings, time away from your family. Okay,
Yep,
investment
so
in
this-
So you
yourself.
invested in
This is-
yourself.
Right.
This is how that went. This was the Grant Cardone does the 10X conference, right? So I went to that, and I'm there, and I was already saying, okay, I'm going to transition into multifamily, because that's prior to build to rent actually being a thing, right? And so I was thinking, okay, well, the only way to really scale is to get us and to get to the doors that we want to get to is I have to go into multifamily. So Grant Cardone was doing his first ever multifamily conference. This was a 2-day thing. This event costed $10,000, right? And so I'm here, and I'm like, man, like, I don't know if I should be paying $10,000. I'm not even in the space yet, but I wanted to learn as much as possible. I wanted to meet people in there, so I paid $10,000. This was a small room of people. It was about 100 people. It was not very massive. Well, Bobby, who spoke, his story resonated with me big time. As soon as he was done speaking, and he was one of 3 speakers that spoke over the 2 days, I ran out and found Bobby. We started talking. We hit it off. His son-in-law was there with him, and his wife was there. His son-in-law texted me after that and said, hey, Gilly, nice to meet you. Would you like to come to dinner with me tonight? Well, I had my luggage packed, so right after that event, I was supposed to fly back home. I canceled my flight.
Hell yeah, I would've
I
too.
canceled my flight, and I said, I'll be there.
Yeah.
I went and found a room and everything. I told Denise, hey, I'm going to stay one more night. I'm going to have this meeting. Well, he goes and shows me we had some awesome drinks, some fun. He goes
It wasn't
and
in
drive
Vegas,
here.
right?
No, it was
Wasn't in
it was in
Vegas.
Fort Lauderdale, Miami.
Even worse.
So it was but it was an awesome experience, right? Fast forward today, the reason I'm going to this family wealth event that's going on again in Miami is because of Bobby. The reason I have this vision of 2,500 doors is because of Bobby.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he has allowed me to believe and dream big, and has never shut it down, and helping me figure out how to get there.
Yes.
The reason we got the 80 unit, the 21 unit is really because of Bobby's mentorship. So
I'm going to go as far as to say Bobby was the conduit to get you to make the decision and the risk
Correct.
in doing that.
yes.
And
I
you know
agree.
what? I think there's another thing that it's very simple, but it's often overlooked. And this is a huge mistake that I committed whenever I got into the business is I came from a space where I was very successful in the manufacturing world. So when I got into real estate, I had an ego. And if I heard someone like Gilly talk, I would probably be like, oh, this guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. You know?
I can see that a lot.
I know a
Yeah.
lot. I know a lot. This guy has no idea. And I'd probably be like, man, I want to talk so bad over this guy.
Yeah.
Like he just mentioned this and I want to just jump in and say what I know about that.
Right.
When I didn't probably know anything.
Yeah.
So I had to come to a realization at some point that I had to shut the hell up and listen to the people that were succeeding.
That's right.
I had to shut up and listen. And the more that I shut up and listen, the more I learned. And I had to be patient with that process too. Like it wasn't going to happen overnight. Like you said 6 years ago.
Yep.
I mean, that's a perfect example.
100%.
A lot of people ask me like, hey, Rezi, what happened? Like that was just you just decided to do that overnight? Well, no, I planned that 6 years ago. A lot of people don't know that. But you know, that's a perfect example. It just doesn't happen overnight. You gotta
Well,
be
I
patient.
think a lot of the conversations that we have, Jeff, I know you've said it almost verbatim. The time in the market that we are in, because we've got, what do they call it? Seasons in real estate, seasons in life. But the idea of this point ringing more true than it has ever been, and is you have 2 ears, 1 mouth, so that you can listen more. And I think right now we're in the age of information. We've got, as new agents to the business, even seasoned agents to the business, you've got to soak up as much knowledge as you possibly can, but also validate. It's hopefully you take what these guys say today and then go do a little research. And like Jeff was saying, when you were coming up in the business, you take a little bit from that, little bit from that. Now all of a sudden you've got your foundation of what you are going to become.
Right.
But in order to become that, you've got to have a vision of what you want to become first.
Right.
So yeah.
And take action.
Absolutely.
That's most
100%. We've got
Without a
about
doubt.
20 more minutes left so we can hit an hour and a half on
Juicy.
this sucker.
Yeah.
Nice.
I want to open it up to you guys.
Time's gone by so quick.
It always does, man. Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of topics that I have here, but one of the things that I have, and you guys can tell me if this is worth a chat or not, which is AI technology in our industry. It's moving at a fast pace. And lately, we've seen large steps in technology as opposed to, let's say, in the 90s, it was always small steps. But what we're seeing now is a massive jump in technology and how people are applying it in our industry. Do you all see that as a crutch, a threat, or a tool that can potentially be leveraged?
One answer word across the board. Tool.
Love it.
Tool.
Weird. Now, can we elaborate?
I'll
Who
start.
wants- go for
yeah.
it.
So, and I'll try to relate it to realtors, brokerages, training, support, etc. If agents would just use the tool, right, for what it is right now, and go to Chat GPT, or the G stands for Gilly, by the way, Chat Gilly PT, all right, and just be like, you know, I'm a real estate agent in South Texas. I struggle with lead conversion and conversations at open houses. Please give me the top 5 things to say or to discuss when I meet a new shopper at an open house this Saturday. Enter. They just got coaching for free.
Yes, sir.
And they're going to get it like in a third of a second.
Absolutely.
But even though I'm saying this right now, we know that I'm going to say 90% of the real estate agents in the U.S., this is not just a San Antonio or Texas thing,
Yep.
do not take action.
That's right.
And so, like, wow, like what a fool you would be to not use Chat GPT to load your mouth with the bullets you need to take down the prey you want to take down.
Absolutely.
And again, it goes back to, like, you know, do open houses work? Well, that man said he just started a business with open house, but I've been saying it at my brokerage and my team forever. What do I know? You know, we've only closed $1 billion, like closed. You know, I guess maybe I'm getting lucky. Maybe we're lucky. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm, you know, so, but Chat GPT is AI. Going back, AI is a massive tool. I think it can be a strength for people who know their weaknesses. And I think that's the bigger question is, where do I have weaknesses and where can I use it to help me? You can use AI right now to put together a presentation. You can use AI right now to put together a flyer. You can use AI right now to put together a real estate description. You can use AI right now to create, performance metrics and calendars and social media posts
and with real accurate data.
Totally. Yeah. Like I always do this, like every so often I'll pull it up like on our big screen at the office, when I'm in a training environment. I'm like, hey, who here is struggling with social media? Like, well, social media is not really my thing. Like, whatever. And it's okay. It doesn't have to be if you got a different way of getting business, right?
Sure.
But if you don't, then social media is probably something you need to really start focusing on, right? And so then I would put like, give me a 30-day calendar for posting, and these are the 3 things that are important to me: single mom, single dad, military VA loans, and first-time home buyers. And then all of a sudden it gives me a 30-day action plan in a third of a second. So now you can't look in the mirror and be like, I don't know how to post. No, like just freaking do it. Like the AI told you what to do.
And for the advanced users, matter of fact, I should probably do several classes on this. I'm a nerd with this. We've been using it for many years as we built Review My Mortgage, all of the things. You can now take what you just prompted and actually have it imported into Canva, then take that and import it into your social media or a later app or something like that.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a tool.
Done.
I love that.
It's a
I
massive
love
tool.
that. I can't wait to learn as much as what you just said. But I absolutely think, I'm not sure if you were finished yet, but
No.
I think that AI is an absolute incredible tool, and we're definitely embracing it over at the brokerage. Whenever I opened up the brokerage, I always envision creating something that was really high caliber and efficient. So AI has allowed us to become a lot more efficient. And the way we use it in the brokerage is, for example, if we're onboarding a new agent and we need to get their bio, for example.
Sure.
And, most agents don't have their bio, but if we just get 2 or 3 bullet points and ask ChatGPT to refine a bio for us for a realtor in San Antonio, Texas, well, guess what? It spits it out in 30 seconds.
Ronnie,
So it's been incredible.
and I think this show is high level enough that you won't be mad at me for sharing a trade secret. Ronnie has an AI spokesperson at work on some of his marketing, which is it's fabulous. I remember when I saw it and he showed it to me. He's like, "What do you think, bro?" I'm like, "Who did you hire to do that?" He's like, if I tell you, I have to kill you. But he was just like, no, that's AI. And I'm like, what in the world? And obviously, I mean, we've done research and have talks about that. But yeah, like there's so much you can do with it, right? To help your situation in life. It's about creativity, right? So
yeah, and then another thing that should be scary to the agents, and something that I've realized about AI is that it listens way better than we do. So back to my point where whenever clients are talking or whenever you're having your buyer consultation or your listing presentation, you want to talk over your client all the time.
That's right.
Well, guess what? AI doesn't do that.
No.
AI shuts up and it listens to everything that you're saying, and then it'll tell you everything you want to know after you shut up.
That's right.
So we should learn something from AI.
Absolutely.
If we shut up a little bit more and act like AI and listen and then give the solution.
And I think the key with anything related to the technology and the artificial intelligence is it is up to the user in learning how you can apply it, how you can leverage it, how you can implement it into your business. You're either going to end up falling into the side of it's a distraction or it's a tool like we all discussed just here. And the power of it, JC, if you can throw that up on the screen real quick. While you guys were chatting, I said, using the internet as your resource, can you write a bio about Gilly Mendoza? And there you go. Even talks about your beautiful wife. Look at that. Co-founder.
Let's go.
I mean, how long would it have taken somebody Google searching to grab the information, put it in and articulate it into a biography?
can you do one for the Blue-Eyed Devil? I'd like to see what that's
Can
gonna
you
say.
write a bio for the Blue-Eyed Devil? Am I right? No, absolutely. And I think that's Gilly, did you have anything to add on this?
No, I would 100% agree, but just leveraging it in a way to buy some time. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah, I'm all in on it 100%.
Same here.
But
same here.
I do think it, not I do think, I know it cannot replace the relationships.
No,
right? But as long
human
as you
touch,
just leverage exactly. Yeah.
but it will leave those that are not utilizing it behind.
correct.
In my opinion. So, guys, this has been an incredible discussion. We've talked about a ton of valuable information.
We don't get one more controversy?
That's what, if y'all want some more controversy.
One more. Yeah, because people are finishing their turkey right now.
Oh, good
about
point,
to get into
good
the second
point.
plate,
Let's
little
see.
gravy, and we're trying to get the secret word in before we close the show. So if you can build it in,
I
we'll
like
see.
it. I like
we'll
it.
See. All right.
And
okay, here we go.
let's
Here we
give
go.
them something to talk about.
Ooh, okay.
So, since we've got the NAR settlement, we talked about it's business as usual for those that understood what took place, knew where to look to find what the new procedures were, new forms, all of that jazz. What I believe could be on the horizon is essentially a lot of dual agency. Do you believe, and then yes, no on this, and then we'll talk about it. Do you believe that we are going to see more unfortunate litigations due to that? Or do you foresee that being something? That's not even a yes or no. Shit. Let me rephrase this. Let's see. Institutional investors, do you think it should be let's see here. Do you think dual agency should be banned or restricted?
That's a good one.
Animal, you're up.
I'm gonna say no for sure. I don't think dual agency is an issue. I think especially if you're very knowledgeable, right, and you know what you're doing, and you're looking out. And
that's
I
the
know this
caveat
might be a little like I'm contradicting myself here, right? But like, who are you looking out for, right? Who's in your best interest here? But I think if you have a relationship, which I've been in a lot of dual agency positions like that or situations because of my relationship with both investors.
Sure.
So there's been plenty of times where I'm representing an investor that I have a relationship with that comes to me and says, "Hey, Gilly, we need to sell this piece of land." And I'm like, "Man, I know the other investor that's looking for the same thing, the other developer, the builder." I think in situations like that, you're being fair. Both parties have the data. And I think investors are different minded than a traditional homeowner or seller. I don't think there's an issue with it.
Matter of fact, let me rephrase this because I think you guys are all going to agree on that. That's
That's
too
a
simple.
very specific scenario, though, Gilly.
But most
Would
of my
that
scenarios are-
work in a residential transaction, though, where
maybe you guys won't
where
have
you're, where you're
agreements on
bitching
this.
about a water heater or something?
I personally think it would be a bloody mess, or
it would be a desmadre.
completely. It would
Ding,
be.
ding, ding, ding.
It would completely be that because I just have a real concern. And I guess the broker blood in me right now is like panicking, right? Like,
Yes.
brand new agent,
Yep.
first deal, working with a first time home buyer in their mid-20s,
Yeah.
dealing with a first time seller. That is going to be a what?
A desmadre.
Of massive
massive
proportions.
desmadre. Yes.
Of massive. I mean,
So then let me rephrase
so
this.
for Gilly, dual agency is. I would want to
Right.
be. I would want him to represent everybody. Like, for Gilly, but oof, man, that is an issue.
Well,
in
we
my
were
opinion.
we were at the ferry event, and he mentioned something that you had touched on in a previous discussion regarding the barrier of entry into
Right,
our industry.
right,
and there are some places that
Have
it
way
takes,
less.
and there's
Yeah.
some places that have way more restrictions, way more training that you have to go through, way more years, et cetera, to become a realtor. So that being the case, do you think that it is something that should be earned instead of a given? Because anybody with a real estate license technically can be a dual agent and their broker allows it, right? So would that be considered, I don't know, discriminating or some shit?
Ooh,
if
I think-
do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that's pretty interesting, and I've actually never really thought about that. I'd have to wrap my head around that, but like if we're just throwing an examples out,
Yeah.
like if I hear Gilly talking and he's my realtor and he's telling me he's got the other buyer on the other end,
Right.
shit, I'm gonna let this guy work his magic
Absolutely.
because I know he's experienced and I know he knows what he's doing. And I know at
And
the end of
could
the
it-
day,
could it be
he's
a
looking for a win-win, right?
Yes,
As
sir.
long as it's fair to all parties involved and it's transparent and everyone knows what's going on. But I think that comes with years of experience.
You mentioned Gilly being looking for a win-win. There are plenty of new to the business and even experienced agents out there that have the years and lack the experience that are looking for a win-win for themselves.
I think I know what you're asking. It's
ahead.
kind of multifaceted, but I wish there was a journeyman or an apprenticeship
designation of some sort?
approach to becoming a full-fledged realtor.
Yes.
I feel like you probably nationally, I wish they would say you have to be able to have worked with a renter, closed a buyer side, and closed a listing side with a designated mentor, like an actual designee, right? That's overseeing the whole thing before you can earn your realtor stripe,
Absolutely.
right? Because it's a broker's worst. It's one of our worst
terrifying.
nightmares that one of our agents who is a proxy to us, right? What they do is the same thing as Ronnie doing it, or what they're doing is the same thing as me doing it. It's our worst nightmare that a brand new agent who maybe didn't understand the trainings or maybe didn't attend the trainings. Now it could be argued, well, why are you letting them in your brokerage if they're not training or whatever? But then it could also be argued that the state doesn't even have a requirement that they only
right.
attend one meeting a year.
Yeah.
And so we can beat that up a whole lot of different ways, right? But no, I do wish, I don't have a presentation, but I do wish that there was an apprenticeship or a journeyman approach to this. The same way that when you're in barber school, you have to have done like 1,200 hours of haircutting.
Yeah. I mean, same thing with
like-
an appraiser or anybody
Right?
else.
So
Absolutely.
that would be so magical for our industry.
And I think Meek Mills said it the best. There's levels to this shit.
Yeah, for sure. You know?
Hell yeah.
Do y'all agree with that? Like,
Absolutely, yeah.
something that would be so cool.
Yeah.
Well, guys, that was the last controversial question I had for the moment for this discussion.
The election's over.
The election is
Thank
over.
you, Jesus. Yeah.
Hey, wait.
I want to allow you guys to give final thoughts. Then we'll close this bad boy out.
Animal.
Now you start. You're the.
You know what, Blue Eyed Devil? This was your first time on the show.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Ronnie, I'm
Hey,
glad
I
we
just-
broke your cherry right here
Yeah,
today.
yeah. I just want to say that it was an absolute honor to just chat it up with you guys here on this episode, and I'm pumped up for 2025. I think that where we're at today, we are very blessed to be in San Antonio, Texas. We're slated for all kinds of great things in our industry, and Resi Realty in 2025 is gonna grow.
Let's go.
And I want to see how far we can take this thing. So shout out to everyone out there, and yeah, let's go.
Let's go.
Love it.
All right, man, I'll take it. So anyone who's listening or watching, I would just simply say, take what we're saying with the passion and the slight aggression and the energy that we might be saying it in, easy. Like it's deep, but it's not that deep, right? Like we just want to see people win. I just want to see people thrive. I want to see people accomplish their goal when they decided to go into a real estate school situation and go get a license. Like,
right.
like if you're listening to this, remember why you went to school. Remember why getting a real estate license was important to you. Go back to that, recenter, level set. And since this one's going to come out, sounds like the Thanksgiving
That's
edition, like this could not be a better message to newer agents or struggling agents, or even agents who are maybe winning but haven't figured out how to win to the next level, right? That could be several people listening to this as well. Like, audit your shit, audit your stuff. And I'm not saying like look at your tax records or your income. I'm saying look at your goals, look at your dreams, look at the table that you sit at, look at the tables you sit at, look at the tables you're not sitting at, look at your circle, look at your the periphery, who's around you, who have you surrounded yourself with? Do you have a bunch of people in the cheap seats booing for you? Or do you have a bunch of people who are say prayers for you and blessings for you and check on you during the hard times, right? And so just reassess where you're at. And obviously, I'm the broker owner of Redbird Realty. Again, I feel like we're going to do some major growth in 2025. Don't be shocked if you see a Redbird office in McAllen, New Braunfels, and in Austin by the time we do this in a year from now. And we'll have grown hopefully double or triple, right? I mean, we want more. We want more growth, right? But ultimately, what I would say to someone listening to this is like, take these next couple weeks before the end of the year to determine, are you in the right setting, at the right brokerage, with the right trainer, with the right leader, in the right team setting? Do you want to become a team member? Is someone going to, a team leader? Is someone there capable to teach you how to be a team leader? Is someone there capable to teach you how to do non-traditional? Is someone there capable, to teach you how to do investments and developments? Like, you should be selfish in this business and want more for yourself.
Yeah.
And so as long as wherever you're at is providing you the more, then great. But if they're not, closed mouths don't get fed in this industry. And sometimes nothing changes if nothing changes. And so be open to change is what I would like to tell most realtors, because I think many of them get stuck in their way, and then they plant roots that they don't understand that the roots can travel.
That's right.
Right. And so that's probably what I would
Strong.
lead with or end with on that one.
Yep. No, I'm going to second everything that Ronnie and Jeff said 100%. And I'm just going to add one more thing to that, and that would be to find a mentor. A mentor and a coach, right? If you can't afford the coach because you're just starting out and it's not something in your budget, understandable. But find a mentor, and you do your homework. Don't waste people's time, but find somebody that you like, that you resonate with, and that you want to learn from, you want to grow with. I'm about 99% sure that if you go to somebody very successful and you're respectful of their time and you just ask them sincerely, and don't waste time, don't go there to jack around, take notes, and be serious about it, and you implement what they tell you to do, your chances of succeeding are a lot higher.
Totally.
So that would be my recommendation. Find a mentor, coach, and I would also say, like, you three gentlemen, I'm very grateful for all of y'all. I'm thankful for all of y'all. I know we have now in business together, and that has been phenomenal. And these are all great people. Mark has been day one. So happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Amen.
Yeah.
Happy
Absolutely.
Thanksgiving.
Good shit. So those of you out there listening, you just got an hour and a half of some real shit. There are, I don't know, we're now at 113, 114 episodes. And one of the things that I want you to take note of right now is we are not here to sell you a damn thing. This is a melting pot to be able to give as much of us as we possibly can within the topics and parameters that we have. None of the guests are trying to sell you anything. We're here laying it out so that you potentially can grab some of this and utilize it in your business. Why, you say? Well, two reasons. Number one, it makes our lives easier when we're working with somebody on the other side that knows what they're doing. And two, it's cheaper than therapy. The idea behind the growth of this show is honestly, it's surprising the hell out of me. I never thought that we would be able to eventually make the discussions that we are having meaningful enough that more people are starting to share it and hopefully start applying it. And all in all, will make this industry a much better place. I want to thank you, Jeff, for making me a part of the real estate cartel, baby.
There we go.
And I also want to thank you both for sharing your knowledge today.
Absolutely.
Definitely years of not just being in the industry, but also making shit happen in the industry. So I applaud you all. Guys, happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. Make sure to like, subscribe, share with a friend. You never know who could be in need of this information. You can follow us over at Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcast, but YouTube is where we're trying to grow the biggest audience. I want to thank you again, but until the next one, catch you later.
Peace.